this on. All right, so we're all here. Aloha. We're going to drop into our protocol and principles today. Aloha, welcome home campaign. Aloha's team meeting today. We will be getting together on Mondays, opening up this container so we can connect with one another, get to know each other a little bit deeper, where our actions are, where things on the campaign align, and how we can best support each other along this journey together. So as our protocol and principle is to call that in and anchor in the foundations of Campaign Aloha, our air pillar is the Aloha Spirit Law. The A in Aloha, Aka'ai, meaning kindness to be expressed with tenderness. The L, Lokahi, meaning unity to be expressed with harmony. The O, Olu'olu, meaning agreeable to be expressed with pleasantness. The H, Ha, Aha'a, meaning humility to be expressed with modesty. And Aho Nui, meaning patience to be expressed with perseverance. Moving from our air jed holding one corner to our fire jed, the 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make any assumptions, and always do your best. And we'll move into our water jed. Water and fire don't mix, and they mix really well also in the same way of supporting going out. So our water jed is a practice of Ho'oponopono. One can use the mantra of Ho'oponopono and I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. It's really a practice of reconciliation and bringing balance back to our relationship and making our relationships right. That's super important. This weekend, just talk a little bit of story and context around that. Had a couple of team members who've had a really hard time interacting with one another for years and years, and they haven't actually reconciled the relationship. And so for me, is holding the integrity of this campaign and this team is that our willingness to bring Ho'oponopono, to bring that in and to practice that. And whether it not be attached to the outcome or the goal of it, but just to the willingness to embody these practices as we go through it is the most important thing. And for me, it is our filter. It's how we'll operate, cooperate, co-create together. And if it's something that we're not agreeing in agreement to, then maybe there's something where we can find that's where the agreeable comes up. So if there's anything as we go through this, if there's anything that comes up around, what other codes can support establishing our foundations, this is going to be a place where we can bring those in. What other values, what other mechanisms, whatever magic and wizardry that we have to offer to each other to continue to build our coherence. Elizabeth, you got some?
I got a thought. I am, by whatever means, very, very versed in neurolinguistic programming. And so when I'm looking at sort of the meta of what it is that we want to generate and the flow of the mentation that we want to have around our messaging, I think the words that we choose are going to be incredibly important, one thing, like there's a guy who says, I've never lost any client any money. And there's one guy who says, I've averaged 10% for all of my clients. Well, who's actually the better one? Better one's probably the first guy, but he said it wrong. Everybody's going to go with, I've gotten you 10%. Hey, he's gotten us 10%, right? So it's the way of the subtle way of the phrasing. And when I heard the word chaos, I thought, I love the words that it creates, but the neurolinguistic programming meta understanding of that may not be the exact thing that you want to tie in with your campaign. So I'm thinking moving forward, it'd be really helpful for us to keep that whole meta message in mind and carefully craft according to that.
Oh, I appreciate that feedback. I don't even feel it's necessary moving forward to even bring in chaos. As that acronym, even with the clarity, I'm going to stay focused on what the protocol and principles of this campaign are. And that's where we're at right now. So, you know, and the nonviolent communication piece of it, you know, right, is like even us reprogramming, you know, like nonviolence. Does nonviolence call in violence? Because we're saying the word has been kind of a conversation that I've
Exactly,
been
right?
experiencing and witnessing, you know, and part of, and like how do we deprogram and reprogram, you know, essentially, like there's the unlearning, right, the piece of that, and then I feel that in this way of chaos, right, what can the stigma around that word, and then when we utilize the acronym as a mechanism to reprogram a word, I experienced the transformation, you know, in myself, in my life experience, when I do drop into like a greater and deeper meaning to words that I have developed over time, some type of perception or maybe misperception, you know, or miscommunication, some it's off a little bit and it's not actually holding the truth, the etymology, the origination of the word itself. And I really appreciate like you two, the presence of you two being here right now, because I know you play in this world. We all play in this world together, and both of you are very much, you know, alchemists and masters in linguistics. And you know, first there was the word, and so how we're sharing our word is of utmost importance. So
You don't call it spelling for nothing.
hey, amen. So that takes care of our water pillar. So we have our air, our earth pillar, the rock, brings in these 12 principles. The principle of radical inclusion, the principle of consent, the principle of civic responsibility, the principle of leave no trace or leave it better than you found it, the principle of radical self-expression, principle of radical self-reliance, principle of communal effort, the principle of each one teach one, the principle of gifting, the principle of regeneration, the principle of immediacy, and the principle of participation. Where I find these rocks come in also with the earth element is a practice of embodiment, you know, and think about like, okay, along this campaign, how am I radically including, you know, how am I practicing each of these principles as we go along? Am I practicing consent? And it's such a great way to reflect and have some self-reflection and have some something to support the steering, you know, of on this ship that we're on together. So that essentially is our protocol and our principles to map it out, that I feel through this will give us foundations to be able to move forward together in, that allows for the dynamic flexibility and autonomy of each and every one of us as sovereign beings here choosing to be here. And this is something that, again, like we're co-creating here. There is no hierarchy. This is a round table experience. And so just offering that in, any of us can lead these a circle, you know, facilitate it or open up this space. My request would be that we come in the space kind of like if this were a dojo, and this was like a temple, a space for us to wield together and to sharpen each other up and become more precise and direct on how we are working as a unit. So in unity, right? So yeah, protocol principles right there. And with that, I'm gonna say one last piece, because the other piece I want to bring in today's really meets us it's a yellow galactic warrior day in our Mayan dream spell. And the warrior piece, you know, is really speaking to like intelligence, questioning, and fearlessness. So it's around like inquiry, bringing collective intelligence and then having that fearlessness component in there to have, which to me also means courage. And then the galactic tone is around integrity and harmonization. So how, we brought that in before, like these pillars I see is actually holds the integrity of our team, right? Hence the pillars. And then from there, builds harmony, allows for us again to harmonize and to congeal and to continue to build our coherence together. So the mantra for this day of Yellow Galactic Warrior, which is an 8-day also. So you'll see sometimes radical self-expression. I will wear things to remind myself of the energy in the day, and that radical self-expression piece is like, it's almost like I want to be the sun, in that way of like, okay, I'm shining on everyone. This is the information or intelligence that wants to come through me as a vessel, and that we're all just vessels and channels for spirit to reflect the Most High and for us to evolve together. So we harmonize in order to question, modeling fearlessness. We seal the output of intelligence with the galactic tone of integrity. We are guided by the power of universal fire. And yeah, red moon, universal water, purify and flow is the wave spell we're in. Today's a moon day. Michael was sharing, Kyodama was sharing. I will make sure that I also too, bro, in the evolution of honoring your request to refer to you as Kyodama. So shifting reprogramming myself to go there, each time in reference, and honoring that. And I also appreciate when that shift is made. It's a becoming. It reminds me of who I am becoming with that name and calling myself into. So yeah, opening up the floor to move into the next piece of what would like to be shared. Any feedback, any questions, anything coming up for either of you? Awesome. Gilma.
Well, thank you for that in terms of grounding us, creating that container so that we can have a larger collective awareness around what's happening. I feel like with all that, there's, at this point in the campaign, I'd like to present an idea. And I think we were talking about this previously, where looking at campaigns, there are certain parts and pieces, and you've already created segments for aspects, which actually goes really nicely with the 4 aspects of a campaign: finance, correspondence, administrative, and field work. And so one thing I'd like to recommend, because we are about 3 months out before the mail-in ballots go out, and there's a lot that comes in, particularly with the local voting trends, that will put a lot of a significant percentage of the voting populace on Maui who are going to be voting during that period. And I'd say with a sense of, to go with that sense of urgency, if we can subdivide this campaign in the segments you've already created, looking at finance, and that can be anything in terms of, the treasurer report, and having that aspect as a piece of it, which would be, consistent throughout the whole process in the campaign. The correspondence, that's everything from written pieces that you may want to submit to, like Maui Time or the Maui news, or also just doing prep in terms of things around like speeches, the administrative stuff, and that's keeping things in terms of all of the nuanced aspects of the campaign itself. Also support for you specifically. And then the aspect in terms of field, which will look at then everything dependent upon how you want to move forward, from having presence, keeping up to date on different events that are happening to be able to support you at those events in terms of handing out information about you. If you want to, then also going to the door-to-door knocking aspect, if that's something you want to pursue. However, if we can have something like that broken down by the elements, I think it would subdivide things really nicely, and the elements can meet on a weekly basis. And these gatherings on Monday, for example, I feel will have a more there'll be more to share and update between the different elements, and be able to have then that more macro level view and come back to our center, especially if we can also have scheduled time between the elements, so we can attend to things from researching demographics on the admin side to planning out field days at events, and having a posse join you as you attend a different event, so that we can be handing things out, to being able to submit treasurer reports when they're due. And those are all things that honestly you as the candidate, you want to be kept abreast about. However, if you have a team that's doing it, then that 80-20 principle in this case is you being the candidate, and we'll take care of the rest. And I feel like that'll be, in terms of just like, I don't know, economy of energy, will help you to focus on your aspect, and then we can help, paddle the canoe in the seats that we're sitting in and just move forward together. So I'd like to just put that forth with the group to recommend the different elements, then taking on the kuleana of the different aspects of the campaign, and ideally, meeting on a weekly basis, so that we can parcel off different pieces of those 4 components of a campaign, and then come back together, and whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, on that Monday meeting, so that we can all center back and then share what's going on in our fields, if you will.
Oh, beautifully articulated, brother. Thank you for that share. So much of that resonated, the coherence already happening. I want to welcome Zach and Audrey, and I think Judy is the 808 number here popping
I'm
up
here.
on the screen.
Robin is here as well.
All right, great. And Robin is here as well. So super wonderful. Thank you all for making it in. And we're just cruising through right now, and looking at this as really being an open forum on Mondays for us all to sync up. All of the elements can sync up on this day, and then we go into our respective kuleana and the areas that we're passionate about, and then we have the greatest experience and really want to take hold of, and the responsibility involves. Question I have for you, just really quickly, Kilmo, is finance correspondence, and what were the other 2? There's boots on the ground, right? And the third one?
Yeah, there'd be, so finance correspondence, field, and that'd be everything out and about. And then, I found that admin or like candidate support is good, but having, a centralized segment that's looking at all those parts in terms of paperwork, deadline, monitoring timelines and things of that nature. And that's where I would say like your campaign manager would be great to be sitting in that area. And then treasurer would be a part of finance. And then you can have a little more leeway with like the wordsmiths in correspondence, and then, the promoters in the field, so they can get out and about and carry that energy strongly.
Yeah, and also with that, the managing of the campaign, I went and spoke to, this is Audrey, who came in right now, and I had the honor and privilege to have my first experience kind of in this political place, and position, she asked me to be her campaign manager as she ran for president the last 12 weeks. And so I went ahead and flipped the script on her. Our last conversation was like, I could use a campaign manager, right? And so we got a good chuckle out of that. And so she's here today to meet the team, to listen in, see where we're at. She brings so much experience. We met in regards to her being one of the founders of Mothership Alliance, which was put a shout out for the Jedi, an alliance with the Jedi. And so we kind of came together then. And so, I see there's these roles, and there's the overlapping and weaving of the roles in here, so that we really feel like that canoe analogy that you brought in is so perfect, right? We're all in this canoe together. We're all paddling. We have different, some different ways, some leads on a particular, count. They have the steersman or steerswoman piece. So there's like some roles around that, but the fact that we're all in this together, and we're only going to get there by coming together and paddling as a team in harmony. So that management position, that campaign management position, is one that I feel in all of the positions and roles that the more collective flow and unity that we have in any of that, we have less that any of us individually are shouldering, because then it can start to feel like a lot, especially because I know all of us have big projects that we're bringing, which is part of the beauty of this. Is like, this is a massive canoe right now, like this is a big thing that we're all stewarding together, and there's so much that we can offer, not only Maui, but we're offering the entire planet. We're offering Pachamama and Mother Earth and all sentient life. So that being said, anything else? But just to give a little quick, you were talking about the pamphlets. I had the awesome experience when I was out with Judy the other day, that this came up in our field, and it was like a beautiful template for a flyer, to be put together. And so it was great, because it's like to see it help to like outline what we want to, how we want to do it. And I feel that art and culture, the art piece, the heart piece, is going to be such a huge aspect of how we attract people into the field, whether it be passing out. Judy and I were speaking. I don't feel, especially this day and age with what's going on, that the going door to door is going to be the best use of our energy and our time. I think that we have the social media to support that. We have large leaders of groups that can support the spread and the expansion, or the reach out and community reach, than going door to door. So to let that go, that's not something that I want any of us going into. Is going to be organic, and this is something we're going to build over time. Our milestone of August 13th, the primary election, and prior to, so we do have some milestones and some dates to meet, but this campaign is much longer than the candidacy, and is much larger than that as well. Okay, like this is a movement of peace, love, unity, of sovereignty, of freedom. Is ongoing until we reach the promised land. So on this, and then I'm gonna pass to go ahead and put the mic down. But on this flyer, it's to look at like the body politic, as us as the body politic, the areas that I would like for us to focus on as well, coming back to the teams and the elements, is in the earth element would be Malama Aina, is in that earth element. So that being a focal point, is caring for that which feeds us, caring for Mother Earth, caring for life, our stewardship. And then the air element, eco-cultural tourism, be kind of the air element in that space. The water element would be Ola Ikavai, which is water is life. So anything having to do with water, water rights, clean water is speaking with a project where they in a day raised $80,000. A group raised $80,000 to build wells for like 8 different villages. And just by having a collective come together with a shared goal and intention. And then the fire element is edutainment, and knowing that education with entertainment and entertainment with education, that they come together, and how much more can be cultivated when both are operating in unison with one another, and how that's supportive, and how much more. I would love my education to be entertaining, and I would love my entertainment to be education. And then the protocol and principles is kind of like the head, and then the body of the is Aloha and welcome home, and coming in and really focusing in on cultivating and spreading Aloha and our necessity for housing and the correct infrastructure, proper housing here, and to meet that on Maui specifically. I'm steering away from, again, the reprogramming or programming of affordable housing in that charter and that amendment, because that's affordable to who, right? So it's like, what are we talking about when we say affordable housing? So I really want to come into more of like regenerative housing, sustainable housing, and use collective intelligence, like what's that look like? But the idea is that all residents of Maui have a home. They're contributing, they're here, we're all contributing to life, and everyone should have a home, so that our basic needs, our food is taken care of. Everyone has organic, healthy, vital food to bring to access to that. Everyone has access to clean water. Everyone has access to clean air. Everybody has access to each other and community, and everybody has shelter. So that our basic needs are met, because once those are met, then we can thrive and we can co-create together, and we get out of any kind of survival, scarcity, consciousness, and up level to a co-creative space. And with that, I'm gonna put the mic down, and if Audrey, you feel called to introduce or come in at all, it'd be great to have your voice since you're new to this group. Aloha.
Oh, thank you, Jonah. I'm happy to introduce myself. I feel humbled and privileged to be in this space and meeting all of you. It takes a lot of courage to run for any political office. I learned that the hard way. And I applaud Jonah and each of you for supporting him and standing in that space. In order to change our nation, we have to be willing to get involved in a political arena with the mindset of shifting the consciousness so that people are first, and any position is about servant leadership. And so I have not made a commitment to serve. First of all, I know nothing about Maui. I've done some Googling since I first spoke with Jonah. So I don't know that much about Maui. I have traveled the United States pretty extensively, and I've lived here for 68 years, so I felt qualified to be president. A lot of people didn't think so. My campaign, when Jonah was campaign manager, got preempted because my 40-year-old nephew was found dead just as we were getting formation. And that was right after my kid's father, my ex-husband, had passed. And then shortly thereafter, my sister had passed. So it was pretty difficult time. What I learned from that is you can put a lot of effort into something and then life happens. I learned some things. The most exciting thing for me was talking to people. And what I learned is that people want to be heard. They want politicians to do less talking and listening more. And I found that people that I thought that were totally opposite politically were not so opposite once we took the time to lean in and to learn from each other. So in listening to just the part that I heard, I'm sorry for being late. I had a doctor's appointment. The only question I guess I have two questions for The first question would be, is housing a bigger issue than employment on the island? And the other question, when you're talking about these eco villages, are we talking about providing the basic necessities of life for people for free of charge? I just need some clarity about that. And so thank you for giving me this opportunity. What have I done with my life? I've spent years meeting men at the prison gate, working with the Department of Corrections, with the prisons, providing housing and community services for reentry. Most of the people I met at the gate myself, that was one job I did. And I never called it a halfway house. I never called it anything except hugging them and saying, let's go home. And that was like one of the biggest and most amazing things I've ever done. Because some of you know that men are released with the garbage bag with all of their belongings. And depending on what state, it's $75 gate money. And in some cases, some of the men have been in prison 10, 15 years. And so that was amazing. I also was as a consultant for North Carolina Central and spent a number of years helping women in the McDougall Terrorist Project who had never had jobs move from 3 generations to no jobs into meaningful work. I've been a part of bringing communities together in Africa, where I lived for a while, Uganda and Kenya, and across the United States, bringing communities together to solve the problems themselves. I believe the answers are already in the community. And so my skills have been honed in different communities, because Santa Barbara is very different from Durham, North Carolina, very different from Philadelphia. But the dynamics of a community is basically the same. There are leaders there that you don't know are leaders. The leadership is normally not the people with making the most noise and the money. And so my work is grassroots. Who are the leaders on the grassroots who are making things happen? Because those are the people that I like to enlist and say, how can I serve what you're already doing? And so I've been blessed to do a number of things that have been exciting. I've lived an exciting life. I've been blessed. And I look forward to how I may support Jonah. Thank you.
Wow, Jonah, may I know who that amazing woman is? I'm sorry, I missed the introduction.
Yes, Judy, that was Audrey Addison Williams. You know, I probably spoke many times with you about her, so it's great that you were able to.
Okay. What an
yeah.
honor, Audrey. Thank you for showing up at this moment. We're certainly thrilled to have you.
Well, the honor is mine. And what is your name?
My name is Judy Levy, and the beautiful Robin Hill is also here with me, who's about to set foot out tonight to go do some powerful global work for us. There she is.
Hi, Audrey. That was really beautiful, and it's an honor to meet you virtually in this way. I'm the founder of the Global Freedom Alliance, and I really loved what you said and how you meet people to take them home. And
Gorgeous.
really, really grateful that you're on Team Jonah, and beautiful to meet you.
Well, again, the honor is mine. You know, I love Jonah. His family has been from day one. And I'm just really very, very proud of him. And for him to have amassed this team, again, says a lot about him. So thank you so much for the warm welcome. I'm very grateful.
Very warm, very welcome.
To me, it's about how many people can we get this gorgeous man, this brilliant, articulate, dedicated man in front of. And you're right, Jonah, going door to door, house to house isn't going to do it. And Robin agrees.
However, I'm going to say this. Hi, Jonah. I get on a plane literally in like 7 hours. I agree on the door-to-door. It's not viable social media. We have enough connections throughout the island and throughout all the islands. So I want you to tap all the islands so your name is just constantly circulated, even on other islands. People talk, people whisper, families talk. So that's one thing. The other is, and again on door-to-door, I agree. However, going door-to-door to influencers, churches, I'm glad you guys went to the fire station, things of this nature. I think that's a really big piece because your name is known in certain circles, but not in others. And social media is one thing, but that way someone can say, oh, you know what? I met him, so-and-so, he came into my business. So I would go door to door for influencers,
Yeah.
you know, pastors, leaders in the community, people that have business owners, things of that nature, because they aren't going to care as much about social media, but they're going to ask how their business is going to thrive under you. And I think that's a really important piece.
Beautiful. Yeah. We wish she wasn't leaving, but she'll be available virtually.
Yes, I will be. And
And she wants to help with your bio
Yes, I do.
today.
Wonderful.
sit here and
Roger?
Roger. Yeah, wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that. Robin, were you complete there? You
You complete.
Oh, yes, I am.
okay. Just checking. So on that, one of the things I love to do when we get into these circles is to really allow for the completion of the thought process, the transmission and what's coming through, and to take a little moment in between as well. The next speaker, similar to like passing a talking stick, usually the stick goes back to the center and then gets picked up after taking a breath. And I know this supports the flow, you know, and the integration is so important because there's so much information coming through right now. And so what I'm picking up too, and that is the door to door with the influencers, the connection with the influencers. Thank you, Audrey, for putting up for sharing your contact information. I was going to share that too, the Healing Souls of America. You know, what's going on Maui, what's going on the world, really a very interesting time. Is very similar. There's so many similarities to what we're all experiencing. So there's this opportunity, this great challenge with great opportunity is the same for us to unify. So as Robin was sharing, you know, the islands like coming together is like uniting the islands. And in my opinion, every landmass on this planet is essentially an island on this blue-green planet that we live on. Everything is in the water. You know, we may have land around us, but when we look at it from a galactic perspective, we're all on an island. You know, this is a giant turtle we're living on. So I want to get other voices involved. See you up there, brother Zach. You want to come in? You got anything coming up? Anything that feels alive for you in this moment of now? And I am complete that thought. I hope.
Lovely to be here. Honored to be a part of this weekly, or this is a monthly. Or weekly rather, Monday?
We're gonna go to weekly. Yeah, it's gonna be a weekly thing. And we're going to have breakout groups too and teams so that we can get more intimately dialed in with action steps as compartmental. But the Monday will be kind of a time where we can come in and be like, all right, what's happening in our finance department? You know, what's happening with our treasury, what's happening with our correspondence, what's happening with our events. So we're going to compartmentalize it, and then those teams can choose when they'll meet. And I'm going to dynamically fly around and jump in with the groups according to when y'all are choosing in the meeting is how I'm seeing it right now. So every Monday is open. Come in when you can, if you can, do your best and be here, you know, and it'll be recorded so we can just use it as a catch-up space. Complete.
Fascinated by the macro connection here with globally the need for the people to overcome the oppression of the corporate conglomerate. So how do we brand that? How do we give that to how do we put these two together in a cohesive something that someone could take this seed and run for mayor in Indiana or Uganda or whatever, something that, because the nature of the turmoil the past 2 years, it's clear of this overarching power structure controlling the people of every nation in every corner of the earth. So if all those people unified under a doctrine or an understanding, a mission, a identity of who we all are together, and then embody that with you at microcosm in Maui, and then I don't know, that's where my brainstorming has been in the past hour.
Oh,
Yeah.
you feel complete there? Anything else brewing?
No. Yeah, I'm complete with that thought.
Wonderful. Yeah, and thank you for that share, bro, and listening to that. And Audrey just wrote it down, right? Like, and this is where the question, right? Very important question. How do we brand this? I find that asking the questions, seeking we shall find, so asking the right questions, and then, having the collective intelligence that we have in this field all together, those answers, the solutions will be found, so to take it from that, in that meta way, looking at it even with the entirety of our community of Maui in the locality of this, and then to scale that on a planetary level of like, okay, what questions do we have so that we can ask the right question. So how do we brand this being a question? Audrey, I think what I have written in here in my notes is like, I don't know shit. The most powerful place to be, asking questions. Like that was like, I wrote that down after Audrey and I had a tune in, because it's like, we were just joking around. And it's like, I don't know. And I think that's actually the most powerful position that we can actually be in, is the great unknown. This allows for spirit, allows for great mystery, allows for God, allows for Jah, whatever that higher level or higher selves can come in and give us those answers when we ask the specific questions. So, not knowing anything about Maui is a powerful place to be. Oh, there you're back on screen. You had your hand up right there. So I'm turning to you, over to Audrey, complete.
So, so thank you. I just wanted to make it clear that I don't know shit is a strategy. Okay, it's a strategic way of framing. Okay, it's how you present. So just so it doesn't mean showing up saying I don't know shit. It means strategically, this campaign is built around asking people. So you become known as the person asking questions and listening to what people say. And then it's nothing wrong with saying, I'll get back to you, because people will respect you for that. All right. And so I just wanted to make that clear. When I got on, the amazing young man was talking about the different committees. And I just want to make a distinction again between correspondence and the communications for your campaign. This is really important. There needs to be a communication specialist that helps design everything that goes out. And nobody says anything that's not designed in what goes out. And that person is the one who deals with the media. It needs to be somebody very familiar with the demographics there. I haven't seen her in so long. Oh my goodness gracious. I wonder if she even remembers me. Hello. She's gotten so big. Oh my goodness. Do you remember me, Miss Auntie? You have gotten so big. I can't believe how big you are.
I'm 5.
5. Wow. I think you were 3 maybe, or going on 4 last time we talked. So good to reconnect with you. So good. Love.
I turned 5 on Christmas.
You turned 5 on Christmas. Yeah, I remember your birthday's Christmas. So wonderful to see you. So wonderful. Love you.
I'm eating peanut butter and jelly.
Are you okay? All right. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. So yeah, the communications person is going to be very important because this will be the only person that speaks to the press. Jonah, I urge you not to speak to the press, to defer all questions to your communications person. And again, this needs to be a person who's very familiar with the island. Now, I'm not opposed. I love the big picture. I love coming up with a narrative that can be used everywhere. But for now, I believe that we need to develop a critical mass on Maui. We need to get some traction on Maui. And so therefore, we need to focus on the demographics of Maui. Knowing nothing about the island, I can tell you this, there are a whole bunch of retirees my age on the island. And they are different from people born and raised on the island. So again, communication is about who is your audience? And is the language you're using going to relate? Will people who are my age coming over from anywhere else in the world to retire there, will they resonate with the language you're using? Will you, because you only get, I teach people I coach, I teach them the 60-second introduction. You only get 60 seconds. And so if you can't introduce yourself and say what Jonah's doing in 60 seconds, forget it, because they stop listening. And so the first 60 seconds is really, really important. And I help coach people. You can say a whole lot in 60 seconds. But understand with this I don't know shit, that how you approach that with someone from, from California, Santa Barbara, where I live. Well, no one from Santa Barbara is going to retire to Maui, I don't think. Anyway, but from New York, where I was born, retiring to Maui is going to be different from someone born and raised there. Someone my age, almost 69 years old, is going to have a different set of needs and agenda than someone your age. And so this is the importance. A lot of work has to be put in understanding the demographic and deciding which demographic you have the better chance at right now. That's why I asked the question, is housing a bigger problem than unemployment, than employment? I did some quick research, and it seems like Maui is lacking behind. And if I'm wrong, please jump in and tell me I'm wrong a lot. It seems like Maui is lagging behind Hawaii, the state, and Maui is also lagging behind the country. And so that could be a niche right there. But again, how many people are looking for work? I'm not looking for work. Well, I am looking for work, but it's not a 9 to 5. So it's different. So it's really important to understand the demographics. And then how do we frame whatever position? I suggest, I really, really urge you not to go too broadly in the beginning. You want people, when they see Jonah or hear your name, you want them to think of, this is Jonah. This is Jonah. So that they can't think of 20 things when they see you. So they're going to think about, here's the man that's going to help us bring commerce. And, and again, I'm a capitalist, folks, and I ain't going to lie about that. I am a capitalist. I don't think capitalism is the problem. I think greed is the problem. However, there's some things systemically that need to be changed. But just remember, if you're going to go after capitalism, forget about corporations supporting you. And I know that your corporations in Maui, that you're going to need your support. So that's why I'm talking about strategically. My work is about creating business and creating wealth on the grassroots. I believe that the only way we're going to change capitalism is not talk about it, but create wealth on the grassroots. Massive wealth, inform and educate people in investment, development, and do that on the grassroots. That's the only way it's going to change. The other thing, and then I'll be done, the few control the many because we let them. Please understand that. So we're talking about, and please, I'm not taking issue. I agree with everything that's being said. However, what I know for sure is that there are people who don't know who the mayor is, who've lived on Maui for 20 years. I bet you I can find somebody who doesn't know who the mayor is. who doesn't know who the city council is. So unless people are willing to step up and be informed, what are we talking about? The few control the many because we allow them. So educating people is going to be a major part of this. Educating them as to how Maui works, the legislation. And as far as I'm concerned, the city councils don't run most cities. The city manager does. And if you don't believe me, just look and see how much the city council makes and how much the city manager makes, and you'll know who's calling the shots. So I don't know if any of this makes sense. I'd like to hear some feedback from other people, but that's just what's coming through me at the moment.
Let's breathe that in real quick. Take some feedback. Anu, deep breath in. Exhale it out.
May I? This is Judy.
Yes, you may, please, Judy.
Maybe we can use the terms from the assembly and say, when we're done, I yield, and then we all breathe, and then we ask, may I, and you decide. Audrey, that was amazing. So I don't think we have a city manager. It was on the ballot last time, and I think it didn't win, which is why I think Victorino wields so much power. And I'll have to find out how we even find that out. I guess so. Robin's going to look it up right now. That's it for this moment, but let's use that technique. How many of us are on the call now, Jonah?
There's 6 of us on the call right now. And yeah, thank you, Judy, for bringing that in. Indeed, and so getting our languaging, that was part of what came up earlier in our communications. So I love it. So just to bring in some of our practices in the space, is to may I, and then I yield, and also give me some practice as moderator with the county assembly stepping into that role. So I yield. Elizabeth, I'm the McDougal Elizabeth, because she's in the space and I'd like to hear her voice present. So we're all here. Anything come up for you from what Audrey shared? I see you're writing it down in here, which I greatly appreciate that, but just to go more, bring your voice into the space.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that Sandy Boz is our county manager. We don't have city anything on Maui. We have county everything. And I do know that politics in Hawaii is a lot different from politics on the mainland, that our whole state chapter was written so much differently. But I don't know any of the details to that. I'm not an expert. I would have a million questions. I got to the show late today, so I apologize for that as well. And I'm not really on solid ground as to the format. I yield.
There you go. You got may I?
Yes.
May I?
You got the format right now, because it's really open. This is on Mondays. I'm gonna just open up the container, for us to circle up on Mondays so we can keep connecting. It's an opportunity for us to connect from all the different departments, compartments of the campaign. Then we're going to be able to break out group from there into the specifics in our roles, responsibilities, our kuleana on the campaign. So yeah, and to be flexible and dynamic in that the window of time is opening up. When you're able to get here, you're able to get here. If you can be here the whole time, we do our best for that. And I'm not attached to that at all. It's like our level of commitment and accountability is just going to come through by how we show up. And so all of you being here is already showing a great deal of respect, honor, and commitment. And I just want to say thank you. Much mahalos, mahalos to you. I yield.
May I? This is Judy. Sorry, didn't wait for your yield. May I? This is Judy.
Go ahead, Judy.
This is off topic at the moment, but it just gave me a lot of inspiration. I just quickly read an article, long article, that two beautiful gentlemen who happen to be African American in New York just have the first court case, and they are unionizing all the Amazon workers. And they say it's the biggest workers movement this generation, and Amazon spent something like $43 million to oppose these two gentlemen who just kind of did it on their own. One had gotten fired and one stayed inside. And they are organizing the Amazon workers. And I hear that it's the most horrible place to work, and their turnover is 150%. So I just took that as a really beautiful, powerful sign that maybe, Audrey, you are so right. That's one of my signs say, we're the 99%. So we need to remember that. And when more of us finally say enough already, then they're scared of us. They know that we're the 99%, but they've been keeping us asleep. So we're awake, and there's a lot of people awake here on this island. And Robin and I agree that you just need to focus on a few bullet points. Like Audrey just said, 60 seconds. How are you going to make a difference? I love all of your cultural awareness. It's phenomenal. It's important. And I don't think you have the time in your elevator speech to lead with that. I think people need to know you're a man of the people, and you're grounded, and you're serious, and this is what we want to attempt. And I'm not putting words in your mouth, because I'm not sure. To me, it's housing, water, and homelessness, I think, for me, are the top three issues. But I don't want to put words in your mouth. But I think the cultural awareness perhaps needs to come secondarily. Is that a good way to say it?
Jonah, I'm gonna back this up. So most of us on this call are on the same page and on the same frequency.
Hold on,
And
pause real quick, Robin. Judy, do you yield?
I yield.
oh, sorry, she handed me the phone. I assume she yielded. She handed me the phone. Yeah, so I'm not familiar with all that stuff, but I'll be more familiar in the next call. So most of us are on the same page, and you and I are definitely on the same page about everything that you're saying and the way that you're speaking about things. It's going to be too much for people, and it's going to be something that can come out as you teach when you're in office, but first we got to get you there. And the other stuff is, it's going to be hard for people to absorb cultural things when they're trying to make a voting decision on just basic things. So the rest can come, and it's your platform and foundation and where your heart and your kuleana comes from anyway. And that stuff that will be spread out, but we got to get you in office first. That's my thought.
May I, if she yields, may I speak?
Oh, I yield. Yes, please.
Thank you, Robin. Yes, go ahead, Elizabeth.
Yeah, thanks, Robin. Moving forward with your campaign, I think the more you get it dialed in to just like one or two, like those are your identifiable brand platform pushes, and for whatever reason, the most voters are very I don't want to say simple, but I want to say simple. I don't know. I feel like the campaign Aloha is something that's going to be around whether you get elected or not, that it's something that's going to move forward and you're going to be a leader in the community. And I almost feel like it should be separate. Like we should get a brand new domain for you, like Jonah for Mayor 2022, or just something more geared towards your getting elected. And like Campaign Aloha is once you get in. So we need to like streamline it to just like a couple slogans, one slogan, a couple platforms, and getting people on board with those issues and getting support through that. And you can always link like you know, Campaign Aloha to the mayoral candidacy site. Does that make sense? I yield.
May I?
Yay.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, what you're saying, and I'm listening to that as well, you know, and seeing like the weaving of all of it coming together. So, you know, to speak on the platform, you know, and this comes back to circling around with what the Audrey was sharing around the demographics, having the diversity in the demographics here and speaking to as many of the people as possible with the message. So, and I've been practicing this coming back to the 60-minute deal with like, okay, what Campaign Aloha, Jonah Martin Lyon is mayor of Maui 2022. Platform is about Malama Aina. Platform is about eco-cultural tourism. The platform is about education or edutainment. Platform is about Ola Ikabai and our water rights. And
But I think you should only choose one or two and focus on those and try to get as many people on board as that. And that background is like, once you get elected, then it's all of that. But if I don't think the voter can handle 12 things.
I'm only
So-
talking 5 right now. I'm not talking 12.
Okay.
So, so to let go and also coming back into the space of protocol, I didn't yield yet. Allowing me to complete that so that we can come in into feedback on this. So having those 5. Yeah, I'm very intentional. I hear what I've seen the message to Audrey is like 5 too many, but there's also casting of certain things that's happening here. Okay, 5 is when we talk about 5, we're coming into the space of creating. You know, it's a creation. We're creating a space. We have 4 that sets the foundation, and then and then there's a spirit that can come in and it can work within that. So there's a lot of intention of why I'm choosing 5 and why that came in. I don't think it's necessarily too many to speak to, especially when because I'm speaking to things that are 2 and 2, coming back to it. Somebody might be like eco-cultural tourism and education because English is more of the language use and the cultural piece and aligning. Oh, I get that. Yeah, education and tourism, right? And the eco-cultural piece of tourism. And then when we speak about Malama Aina or Ola Ikabai, we're speaking to the native Hawaiians, locals who are here that are gonna fully get that. And so it actually is a 2 and 2, you know, on either side, where it's dynamically speaking to the 2. If we were to narrow down the diversity of our populations to looking at almost it being 2, there's the natives who are not currently participating in the political world and therefore not able to impact or influence with their power. So how do we get them involved? And then how do we also involve those that are transplanted, that are locals here? How do we get them involved? How do we engage them in the conversation? And then the meeting ground is coming back to the meeting place is just that, the house, right? Is the housing issue, which is a massive part of everything we're talking to, because we all need a home. A home is where the heart is, and at the same time, there is actual shelter and longevity in that. So with that, I yield.
Well, I mean, may I? I've been, you know, my personal issues would be victims' rights and homeless rights. And what we've got set up on Maui, I got hit by a drunk driver, buried alive in debt, became homeless, and I haven't had a home. I had housing, okay, you know, like shelter plus permanent housing for 2 years and applied for dozens of places and never got in, never got chosen. So a lot of people that I talk to that are in similar situations, regardless of how they got on, you know, I don't consider myself homeless. I consider myself like I've got a tiny home on wheels. So it's trying to shift that mindset, but still I feel that the agencies that are controlling the money that comes in for the homeless population steals it all. They're all committing fraud. And that's quote unquote out of my pastor's mouth. And every single person that I've talked to that's gotten okayed for funding for homes have never gotten the home, and they said, oh no, they're committing fraud. So they take the money from the federal government, from the state, into their agency, but it never goes to who it belongs to. So that is a major problem. I mean, you know, if I personally were running for office, I would say my number one issue would be corruption on the island. It probably would get me killed immediately, but still, that is our biggest issue on Maui. It's not just corruption in funds, but it's corruption like taking the money from the big hotels right now as bribes to get rid of all the Airbnbs. So that was a possibility for me to get an Airbnb and have investors and make money, have a home, and make money for somebody else. And they're taking that away. Now you have to own the property for 5 years just in order to apply for a B&B permit. It's just unreal to me. You know, the Hawaiians aren't really involved because they got the jab. They are drinking the Kool-Aid, and even working as I'm an administrative assistant for the Royal Hawaiian family of the House of Moana. And, you know, they're kind of trumpets. They're definitely not got the same idea about American politics, because the Hawaiian royal family, as far as they're concerned, this is still Hawaii. This is still their domain. And they don't really acknowledge a lot of what American politics and politicians are bringing to it. They're just trying to steal their land right now. That's what they're going through. That's how corrupt that is here. So there's so many levels. And just going back to the whole drunk driver piece, like I got buried alive, $60,000 of debt because she was underinsured, and she just continues to go to jail, and she's a career criminal. And she has 1 million times more opportunities and rights than I do. My finances were ruined. I was ruined, and I'll never be the same again. And nobody's helping me. And I've asked almost everything on the island for help. It's not with a lack of trying, and it's been 6 years now. And I honestly don't ever feel like I'm ever going to have a home at the rate everything's going. I will never apply for another government anything. It is, yeah, we don't have clean water. We don't have clean air. Our soil is atrocious. It's been poisoned with DDT. It's been poisoned with Roundup, glyphosate, whatever. Now they're upping their ante. It's supposed to be more harmful than glyphosate, even though glyphosate's being phased out in 23 next year. So we have a lot of issues in paradise that are worth addressing. That is for sure. And it seems like corruption is the #1 thing that's going on the island. And I know that it's happening everywhere, but it's just so in my face here. I've never, I probably grew up in one of the most corrupt towns in America. And it's more in my face here than ever before. So, I don't know. With that, I yield. Sorry, you guys.
No,
That's from the
is it
heart.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
I remember that because my middle name is Elizabeth. First of all, I'm really sorry for your experience. Very, very sorry that you have gone through that. I can't even begin to imagine your pain and the magnitude of your loss. And you raised so many important points. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I just wanted to respond to what you were saying about the money. And so I've been doing grassroots work in the United States since February of 1986. And my heart has been broken, mostly in Santa Barbara, but it's been broken all over the country because of liberals who have convinced me over and over again that they are for me and Black people and poor people and the marginalized. And then I find out how much money's going into their pocket. And I find out because I'm a researcher and I look for budgets. And I'm telling you, my experiences, this is my experience of over 35 years. When my liberal friends get excited about something in Santa Barbara, follow the money. Follow the money. I don't want to get involved in anything fighting corruption because that's a dead-end street. Nothing's going to happen again. When we educate a small number of people who are willing to pool their money together and use that money to create wealth and to create jobs and become entrepreneurs, things will happen. When this is done in 20 cities all over the United States, things will change. Who brought up the labor union that's at Amazon? Was that Judy or Robin?
I did, Judy.
Judy, that is huge. And that
I
could
know
that could be a major talking point for your campaign, because most people I know, people I know who have money and who are my age, they say we can't make a difference. It's just useless, Audrey. There's nothing that we can do. Well, that's bullshit. Excuse my French. It's bullshit. Tell them Reverend Audrey said that's bullshit. Because look at what happened with Amazon. This guy got fired. Amazon, this guy's a billionaire over and over again. He's like the second or first richest man in the world. And
number one.
Across the globe, Amazon is one of the worst employers. And he put a lot of money into stopping this, and he lost. And what's going to happen is all of Amazon is going to be unionized unless he starts paying people off. But this says that never doubt, the Margaret Mead quote, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. The only thing that ever has. A quick story, when I came to Santa Barbara in 2006, the Latino population was 35% here. But the way the area was zoned for council people, they had no representation because everyone was at large. And, back then I'm protesting, I'm the activist. I got arrested in Arizona, put in solitary confinement, overnight, advocating for Latinos. Well, at one point the light came on for me, and I went to a meeting in Santa Barbara. And I said, listen, I'm not getting arrested. I'm not boycotting. I'm not doing anything unless you're willing to learn how the system in Santa Barbara works. Well, I was living in Africa. I had nothing to do with it, but they rezoned. They passed a law that it had to be a representative from every district. We had a Latino mayor. She's not in office now, but she served 2 terms. When I first came to Santa Barbara, that was impossible. So you look at how you can win, because people need to see you having some victories. We need to help people have some victories. The other thing is, whatever it is that you say is your cause, you have to have something in place to solve it. How housing, first of all, my grandson lived in Honolulu for 3 years. He made more money than some doctors do in some cities, working at a restaurant, a fine dining restaurant. I'm not exaggerating. The amount of money this boy made was unbelievable, but the amount of rent he paid was also unbelievable. The cost of living is so high. See, what I like to say is we need to deconstruct whatever we're saying. So if we're talking about housing, let's deconstruct that all the way down and look at all of the components that go into the lack of housing. And then say, is this something you want to get in the middle of? What I would suggest, I put in the chat that for years, I built Healing Soul of America doing festivals. Music, dance, drama, art, and poetry, building bridges across perceived differences. You don't have a lot of time, Jonah, but I bet you anything that ain't nobody running against you gonna be doing festivals. You can bring the indigenous people, the island people, you can bring everybody in. I bring the little kids in, everybody intergenerational doing festivals, music, dance, drama, art, and poetry. And then you have a chance to talk about your platform. But you don't do that until you listen. These events, these weekend events, 3 or 4 days events can be designed in such a way that you have focus groups, that you have small town hall meetings, that you really let people begin to talk. That's my suggestion. The other thing, we the people, that's unifying. There has to be we the people or something along those lines where everybody's included. But to design the campaign and everything that you do in such a way that all the people are being honored. This is a challenge. It's also our opportunity to design everything that we do, all of our actions, all of our words, what's in our heart, be inclusive of all the people. We the people, all the people. Thank you.
Oh,
If I
audience
may,
complete. I know she is. Yes, you may.
as a person, I guess Kamina, grew up here, been here my whole life, well, traveled, but still my mom and dad are here, so I come back every year.
Please tell your name.
I'm sorry, I'm Elizabeth Johnson. And I have watched this island more than double in population since I was a kid. And I've watched the traffic get bad and sometimes things are done about it, but it takes a long time. And, at the same time, I've watched the local people actually seeming to not thrive while the island was growing and growing and growing. Every single year since I was a kid, there's been a water crisis upcountry. Why? When I drive across, the Mokulele Highway and I look up at Kula, it's quadrupled since I was a kid. There were, a pocket here, a pocket there, but now the whole mountain is covered with lights. And I think to myself, if we're struggling with water, why do we keep building new houses? When people tell me there's a housing crisis, I look around and I see the number of houses, and there's definitely a problem. So many of them are, people having vacation homes and they're taking beautiful Aina and they're just putting a house on it and then, loaning it out to their friends or whatever. And, next door is these local people who are just really working hard trying to scrape out a living. And, they have to work 2-3 jobs and then eat the mangoes that grow on their tree. It's a very different life that we're talking about for the various different people. Coming back to the point that, I'm so sorry, I forget who made this point, but it was a brilliant point that you really have to drill down on your message for your people. So there are definitely people who suffer from a housing crisis, but who are they? And how can we support those people and yet keep growth slow? How many people can Maui hold comfortably and sanely that I won't go to Oahu, because Oahu just is depressing to me. And, you know, each time I come home to Maui, yeah, there's some good things, but, you know, there's also the growth, the traffic jams in Kahului that bother me. You know, yeah, the cops have always been crooked. The politicians have always been crooked. If you get in, I don't know how that's going to be, because, you know, it seems to go along with the territory. They say that you cannot change a structure from inside the structure. So, I mean, I don't know, but it seems to me like the issues are very different and have to be drilled down to. And I think the people who vote are going to be demographically identifiable. Right. And so you find out who's showing up at the polls, and then you got to drill down your message to them. Right. You know, we can try to get certain demographics to the polls, but in order to really have the effect that we want to, let's just preach to the choir and find out who's going to the polls and preach to them. I'm complete.
Oh. Anyone feeling the vibe right now? I know I have some response to that, but I want to can also listen in if somebody else feels.
Yeah, this is Judy.
Yes, Judy.
That was brilliant, Elizabeth. We have two Elizabeths now, right?
Yep.
Okay. I think you were spot on. And I just said to Robin, they're building 1,770 homes here on Haile Miley. They've got the, you know, the view completely covered with their construction wall. I imagine it's going to take several years. And apparently it was approved several years ago. Why is Maui allowing McMansions? I don't know that these are going to be McMansions. I don't have no idea if they're going to be affordable middle-class homes. It's a huge tract. But how is Maui approving things like Bezos buying a 10-acre private beach, and there's not places for teachers to live and nurses? So I think for you to address the 2 or 3 top issues, and we really haven't decided what are your top. I mean, I've heard you say things that I totally agree with as far as water and housing, but you do have to get it down to a 60-second. This is what's urgent. And there needs to be a complete stop. I agree, in any bed and breakfast more approvals and no more development approvals until we've got buildings that could be used, that could be made into apartments and entry housing. And then there's community gardens. If people are homeless and don't have a job yet, okay, you work in the community gardens and we're growing food and we're repairing this land. So I think, and Audrey's just so right, you got to get down to telling the people what are you going to do for them? So we just got to really hone it down, and maybe we can do a little bit more of that if we can connect today. We got a couple more hours with Robin, but barely. So thank you, I yield, and we're on the way. This is really good.
May I? Yes, to all of that. To speak to the corruption and the analogy of we can't change the structure from the inside. I would say I have a lot of structural experience and that's exactly how you make the change. But the change is going to come in almost a complete transformation. The structure, when you do it from the inside, that structure is no longer the same, right? There's nothing, it will be a completely new structure. So to be very clear is to like even the strategical move of running for candidacy in this way is that coming inside internally is to debunk and to like basically bring the house down, okay, at this point, so that we can rebuild. And we have so much corruption there. It's like a house being on fire. There's nothing to save any longer. So we need to get the people and all the valuable things that are in it, aside from people, right? We need to save life and we need to save valuable property. What are those things, right? What is going to be of service to us moving forward, and what can we not get back if it were to go down in this burning building? So letting go of the playing within the system piece. I have no intention on becoming mayor and being corrupted myself and now being part of the system, right? It's like Neo and Morpheus going into the Matrix specifically because that's where the work needs to be done right now, to now break it from the inside so that it can be even now brought into harmony. So it's meeting the disharmony. The only way to bring disharmony into harmony is to bring harmony to the disharmony, and there will be a new music made from both of those places. It's not going to be this harmony. It's not going to be disharmony over here. It's going to be a new version. It's going to be a new song. To come to, like I'm hearing right now, right? We're asking the questions around like, what is our message? What are some of the most important things right now? Housing is been, as I'm asking these questions, is right up there at one of the highest priorities. Which that's why I say like that's at the heart of it all. And then having the limbs, these other areas to support that, right? So I look at it as a call to action, with the call to action being Malama Aina. That's something that all of us can get behind, right? To look at the demographics, what we can all line up into is seeing that the land needs caring for, okay? To come into the aspect of water is life, like we can flesh out from these to look at all the things that we just brought in into each of these areas to expand upon, but like getting into like water is life. In order for us to continue to, as human beings, to live and anything else, we got to fix our water situation. You know, it's again something that unites us all in that. Whether it be the McMansions or somebody living in a tent, we both need water and we need clean water. Everybody needs that. The issue here isn't water. EL Valley produces 600 plus inches of water a year. We have enough water. It's the fact is it's the old ideas that is our problem right now coming back, because the water, the irrigation systems are how many hundreds of years old? Okay, when the Chinese were building this, we're still running off of old infrastructure when we have new technology that can support how we can actually redirect our water and have enough for all to be able to grow. The education piece. We all need to be educated on all of this stuff. Education isn't just for our youth, it is for every single one of us. It's another area where if it's a call to action, these are calls, is what people can rally around, to rally around education. Because what I don't want to do is a call to action that could create a distortion or a barrier between myself, our campaign, us as a team, what we're trying to accomplish, and our audience and those we are desiring to create connections with and relations with. So what are the things that we can all meet on? Tourism being another one, right? Eco-cultural tourism, another huge hit because of what that has done and what it continues to do in terms of our economics here on Maui. You know, we're going to be basically coming at the end of this year, we're at $1 billion economy on just this island of Maui alone. That has just over 150,000 residents. Okay, so you think about the actual abundance, the prosperity from an economic standpoint. We have plenty. We just need to redirect, reallocate, and that comes down to like what are our most important things, and to not allow for what's been going on in the corruption to continue. So these questions, let's continue to talk more about it. But I am going to hold the level right now still on the integrity of these 5 initiatives, right? It's like 4 setting that foundation in these 5 initiatives to bring in, because I think that opens us up for a communication where we're, hey, we're meeting, and it's easy because I'm just going off my fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then flesh it out from there. Which one, asking the question, if I'm out there in the public right now, this is what I'm doing. I'm asking the question, which one of these initiatives resonates the most with you? What's the one that like lights you up? And that looking for that engagement, and we can usually feel into that. I can feel into that, like what lights somebody up when we speak to that. They're like, Malama, I know, yeah, I'm game. I want to participate in that. Oh, about water right now, yeah, I want to participate in that. How can I support? Right? Housing, I'm about that. How can I support? Education, I'm about that. How can I support? Tourism, ecocultural tourism, how can I support? So this is about civic engagement right now, as much as anything else, is getting us as a union. Because I took a note down, I wrote Maui Union. What does it look like as the island of Maui? What if we were able to come together and unite as an island, as a unit, and work in that way so that we are protecting our rights as sovereign beings, as residents of Maui, and that it can't just pass stuff. And we're the strongest union here. We are the 99%. So the 1% that's coming here, the Jeff Bezos or anybody else that are coming here, and that the 99%, it's like, hey, what's your vision for Maui? Why are you here? This is what's going on here. Get educated, come into this space. We're here for you as much as they're here for us. So again, not trying to create separation. We've had a lot of talks around this, but like, I don't want to create a separation of going against the 1%. How do we harmonize that disharmony that we are experiencing from the 1%? How do we create a new song together? With that, I'm complete. I yield. Thank you. Oh, one more thing too. Of course, it's nobody said, may I? Audrey, thank you for bringing in the festival piece. This has got to be fun, y'all, like in engaging and celebration and coming back to that. I mean, this is part of what we were sharing around, the Trails to Freedom and other co-creative endeavors, was to create an experience, co-create a transformative experience that people are attracted to. And that's what it is. It's the music, it's the art, it's the dance, it's the drama, it's the poetry. It is us as community coming together in the same way of the Steel Pulse concert I went to. We've had thousands of people come together for that concert, right? So we co-create these kind of events because these are regenerative. They're more than just sustainable, they're regenerative. And it allows for us to collectively have these conversations in light, a little bit more lightness than the heaviness that can come up if we look at it from trying to do it on a political run, or having some kind of agenda. People are not listening to some politicians. They don't want to hear politicians talk right now. They're not into that part of it. They're going to be into what are we the people, how are we coming together, what are we celebrating, what's important to us, and speaking to that. And yeah, that was the last piece. So thank you for bringing in that festival component. We have Earth Day coming up on May 1st. We've procured the Maui Tropical Plantation, which Bruce has locked in, which I think is, talk about showing up in a divine way. We're taking plantation energy and we're transmuting and transforming the consciousness of the Maui tropical plantation and what that is held and what it's done to this island, and being able to change that story up with this Earth Day. And it's on May Day, because we are at a point of urgency right now as humans, as Kanaka on this planet, that it is May Day, May Day, May Day right now. All hands on deck. So this is the call to action, and how we can support, how we want to come into that. So starting to think about that, because I know we have like 3 minutes in this window, but collectively as a team, how we want to come together and for May 1st and have booths. What I'm imagining is us dropping into our quads, having a booth for the earth element, for the Malama Aina element, and focused in on our food, water, and environment, focused in on our health and wellness, and focused in on our infrastructure and resources, so people can go to that booth and can figure out how to engage, right? Another booth would be our water component, okay? We're going to focus on the justice and protection, the governance and sovereignty, and the relations and peace building component, and the element of water. So we have a water tent. We have a fire tent, fire booth, education and learning, spirituality and religion, and arts and culture. People can plug in how to engage in that way. And then our air booth, air tent, economics and business, our science and technology, and media and communication. So we can utilize that wheel of co-creation as a structure. We have our 4 booths right there, so that we can bring people in and start harvesting the genius, the intelligence, and the action and the energy it's going to take for this transformation. And with that, I'm complete. I yield. Thank you.
Oh, that was powerful. May I? One last thing. This is Judy. After the breath, yes. So I loved Audrey's declaration of festivals, and yes, that's absolutely the way we're going to meet people now that they're finally starting up again. Audrey doesn't understand that we've had a terrible challenge with getting venues, even public venues. We've been literally locked out. But I think that we should plan to do April 23rd, which is a Saturday, to go do that kukui market, where at least there's something already happening. So we can at least piggyback on that. And then we'll have May Day, and then really pump up the Earth Day. I'm still wanting to do something Sunday the 24th somewhere. And I'm wondering if that was it Audrey's idea about the weekend festivals, which is a fabulous idea. It's just that we need a place to put them. And I was pretty strongly counseled over the weekend not to attempt to pop up in the public parks, because they will come shut us down. And I don't want to put any of our vendors in harm's way.
What do you need?
We need a place on the south side that isn't $5,000. Got the community, you saw at the meeting with Jonah on Monday, Community Gardens, or South Maui Gardens, was willing to, try for $3,500. That's just still a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
So to find a place to gather, which the 1% has been keeping us from. And Jonah, I just honor and I bow at your feet that you love the concept of transforming these people. And I think that's absolutely possible. But right now, we got to galvanize the 99% to see what's really, they know what's happening, but to give them hope that we can absolutely change this, because you are such a miraculous thing. Robin just shared that she felt you the first time she met you. She felt your energy walk in and how powerful you are, and turned around, and I guess you reflected one another. But remember. I bet he remembers. I yield. Last closing thought.
Oh, just Jonah, you got this. That's it. You just stay prayerful, and you've got this, and let everything else clear a path in front of you. And the people that believe in you will gravitate towards you, and the people who don't believe in you, it's because they don't know you. So they don't know you yet. So you got to make sure that they know your heart, they know your essence, and you just keep on. Yeah. Oh, I yield.
Mahalo. Yeah, mahalo for that and all of the beautiful shares. I think Audrey just stepped out on her next one. We're at that 2:02 marker, so we're at that 2 o'clock. I want to honor everybody's time, and knowing that we're in the middle of the day and there's so much more to do. Is there any last thoughts right now? We'll just kind of go around the circle right now. Any last thoughts? I'll start off, and I'm looking at you, Elizabeth Johnson. Any last thoughts for you?
Last thought for me would be to really drill down on your talking stand, your speaking points on some of these absolute issues. I go to water because there's a big argument from the local people who feel that the water is its own spirit and it has the right to run down its gulch from the top of the mountain to the ocean. Then there's other people who have money who want to build a nice house. They're like, all this water's running into the ocean. Why can't we bring it over here? You know, and it's a big deal right now. And there's a lot of polarization around this conversation. And I think at some point, somebody's going to ask you some tough questions about what's really happening right now. You got to dig more wells. You know, somebody's going to say, what are your actual solutions to these problems? And I think saying that you're going to sit down and talk to people about it is not going to be what they want to hear. They're going to want to hear, you know, a real well thought out, carefully addressed, at least a platform, you know, for these critical issues. Because if you're going to have the water be one of the points of the star, then you need to have a really deep understanding of what's going on. That's my only thing. You know, get serious standing points on each one. Get a platform. I'm complete.
May I? Beautiful. May I just one more point? This is Judy.
Yes.
Jonah, do you know, I mean, we need to find out what is the situation now. Does A and B still, quote unquote, own or control the water rights? How are the streams being diverted? I'm not a researcher, and maybe Audrey's going to be able to help us with this from Santa Barbara. I don't know, but we do need to find out what is. Elizabeth, who just spoke, was absolutely correct. People want to know that you know what's the situation, because then that tells them that you're going to know how to get in there and change it, that this is illegal, what's been done to our water distribution. There's more than enough water. I watched them in Haiku running water down the street when we've had a big storm. So the infrastructure also needs to be changed. We talked about that in the Farmers Union, because why does all this beautiful water run to the ocean? Why isn't it being diverted to reservoirs? We have a lot of reservoirs on this island. So I think maybe somebody could do a little more research about the yield. And this was a great first call, so good job.
Oh, yeah, thank you for that share. And I want us to do exactly that. Like, we need to do the research. We need, like, okay, who wants to pick that up? And do the research. Somebody that comes up to me right now is a first direct connection, who's already on county council right now, who's focused fully on the water situation, who I trust is doing their best in that position and was already working on it, was Shane Siminski. So, you know, making those connections right now is part of our ongoing homework of what are to flesh out and create a platform for each of these points of the star. And with that, I yield, and I'm now looking at Elizabeth McDougall. Last thoughts.
I feel like water is probably the #1 issue. I really still think you should just stick with like 1 to maybe 2, not 5 even. Make the whole 12, you know, or what are you calling them? 12, I want to call them a tribe. The 12 aspects of your platform for Campaign Aloha. Like really make that's how you're going to implement everything once you get elected. But just to get elected, you're focusing on these. I mean, really, they don't even focus on, I don't know, the less, the better. And the more in depth that you know about that one topic, the better. And I guess my thing moving forward, like if I were to say what the best thing to do would be this week would be to get your press release out saying you're running on in a new Pono way, right? And announce it to the INA. There's a librarian that works for the Small Business Administration, the SBDC Development Center or something, Wayne Wong and Pat Diaz. They have a librarian where you can get the statistics probably of who votes on the island and what they're interested in, and maybe go after that point, because you're going after the holistic, the whole picture, which your opponents are not going to be doing. And I know you don't want to do it the old way, but I think you got to get in the ring. And I don't want to say play the game, but we want to get you in the office. Right? And once you're in the office, then you can just tear down the old and build the new and get things Pono again. So I would say focus on the press release, focus on a new website, Jonah for Mayor 2022. You know, and make that the one or two kind of issue thing, so that we can really brand that. We have, you know, your colors, your slogan, your candidate platform. Very simple. A donate button, a volunteer button, and learn more, you know. That's my advice. I don't know. I believe in everything you're doing. I just want to get you in the office.
You feel complete?
I yield. Sorry. I yield. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for holding the vision of you know, me being in office. Just quick feedback, you know, here's the thing. I'm coming from a protection space, from a very, on so many dimensions of looking at it, to protect and serve. If I'm gonna protect myself, that Malama Aina and the Oli Kavai are both so imperative and important and high up on the list. So if we got to choose two, you know, we come in there. But I would say that's looking at protection from almost a standpoint of like a shield, right? And then there's the protection point of the sword, and that's where to me the education piece comes in and the eco-cultural tourism piece comes in, because that is it's like there's the feminine of the Malama Aina and Ola Ikavai, and there's the masculine of the edutainment and eco-cultural tourism. It brings about a balance. And as a human, and looking at it from that level, I want to have my feet underneath me and I want to have my hands free. Okay, so I'm looking at it from a body perspective. I don't want to enter into this ring with whoever the other politicians may be, other candidates that are coming in into this that might choose one or choose two and play sit in a role that they're an expert upon any of whatever one or two things that they're going in on, because I would still have questions around the expert aspect of that. And that brings up some reservation within myself, but to look at it as we are seeing that we need to address all of these issues, because we're talking about life right now, and it's going to take all elements for life to continue to carry on. So I am fine, and I'm going to continue to hold the body together and all the 5 pieces that are here. So just to clarify that, and I know that we can distill it, and I'm not attached to the mayoral piece. Yes, getting into office is a milestone, and what's bigger and more at play here is more about the campaign and the transformation and what can take place as a community by the people for the people is something that we can all rally around. Rallying around Jonah for mayor is limits us to that. It's already going to be fractioned, but the campaign itself is something that somebody who wants to vote for Victorino, the judge, somebody else, they can still participate, they can still give their energy towards, they can still donate, they can still volunteer, they can do all of that as part of it. It's a bigger vehicle. It's a large spacecraft that we get to jump on. It's a mothership, right? So just to kind of like really come into that, into like what I'm upholding and will continue to uphold in the role that I'm playing, in this is like, I'm gonna show up and be like, all right, here's my folks that are on this foot, who's sitting right here and who's working with me up here, and allowing for it to move around organically in that way. So with that, I yield, and I'm looking over to you, Brother Zach. Last thoughts.
Inspiration. I'm inspired. I love that analogy with the body as a analogy for a platform or what you want to do. Yeah, this was brilliant today. It opened up a lot of avenues of discussion and places to go with it. But yeah, maybe some one-on-one sometime we could dig in to stuff. But yeah, more of the round table is great too. Yes. Thank you. Gotta go now, but that's great. Great to see everyone.
Complete.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, mahalo, brother. Well, let's just take a deep breath in. Let's drop into that, the breath to just kind of complete our communion today and the ceremony, and taking a deep breath in through the nose. Exhaling it out. That breath in for peace. Taking another breath in for love. Deep breath in through the nose. And spread that love that we have for ourselves, for the next generations, for prior generations, for all generations, for the planet, for the galactic beings, for all life, unseen and seen. Let's take one last deep breath in through the nose. A breath of unity. A breath of us all coming together, the uniting of nations. All one nation. Under Jah, indivisible. With liberty. Freedom. What does unity look like? Oneness. Sovereignty. plus. Let's bring plus to life. Let's add to life. Aloha. Kia kua. Hallelujah. Namaste. Yes to the one-on-one, brother. Love to get in with you. I was thinking that the other day too, sinking in, and where I definitely can use some support, assistance, and help in some areas. In my notes, what I wrote down is, like seeing how you feel around some of the research around the demographics piece of it, if that felt resonant with you, was doing some research in that area. And
about who's voting, gonna vote for you, who's going to, who are your who's gonna appeal to your goals and aspiration, changes you want to bring to Maui. Is that what you mean by demographic? Like who you're, the voters that you want to connect with that are going to potentially vote for you? And
I would say instead of that would be a second prong, secondary to the primary piece of it is just what are the demographics of Maui?
of Maui.
Yeah, what are demographics? What are our age demographics? What are our the different, like the economics pieces of it, ethnic demographics, just kind of like sinking in like all the different ways that we, may categorize ourselves, right? And like to get a look at that. So then from there, we can then go in, we can see how we can speak, to the audiences in each of these demographics. Again, that to take this like radical inclusion piece of it, that we're all interconnected, right? It's like, okay, there is this demographic, and what is important to them, for this demographic, given the awareness of the very demographic being there, because I don't know all of them here on Maui. It's like Audrey brought in like the retired folks that have moved to Maui, as their place of retirement. It's a demographic I hadn't really, I know it's here, right, in kind of this space, but it wasn't here at the forefront of the, my mind, and like thinking about, okay, how do I speak to the retiree who's transplanted to Maui, and then you have, even within that demographic, there's the retiree who transplanted to Maui. There's the retiree that maybe that grew up here, and then maybe they've been able to be here most of the time and retire. And then there's like maybe the person who grew up here and then went and experienced a career in whatever their career path was on mainland or abroad, and then has returned back home after that experience and is able to retire here on Maui. They call Maui home, they want to, but they may not have been able to actually reach the retirement place in their own life, right? It wasn't possible to actually do that with the employment opportunities locally. They couldn't stay here and didn't even look at retirement. So I'm just seeing how like there's demographics within the demographics that we can kind of play with and break down and whittle down to. But just to get it overarching, and I love looking at you and seeing the arc of the planet behind you and your screensaver, is like to get like the overarching demographic of demographics of Maui County.
Great. Yeah. And somebody mentioned that there was somebody that had information specifically about the people that vote on Maui? Because not everyone here votes. Not everyone here has a clue that, you know, who's on the city council. And I thought someone mentioned today, someone that has that kind of information. Do you remember that? Or?
Yeah, and I have a direct line. The person that asked on that, she left right before we got to that point, and Elizabeth Johnson would be a good one to speak with, because she, there's like this, the librarian and what was the name? I'll go back on this recording too and take a look at what the actual body of work is, but it's a free service also, and they will work with like creating business plan, for instance. So they have all of these demographics to support with small business ventures coming online, and they support by giving these demographics and other structural components to building a viable business plan here on Maui. I'm trying to remember his name exactly, but I met with her and him in a Zoom call a month ago. So I'll ask Elizabeth on that and reach out to her, make that connection, see if I can get his name. It's like something Wong. That's funny to say it like that. And get you his number, so you can maybe tie in with him, you know, and seeing Campaign Aloha function as a business. We're kind of operating in it with a business savvy in sense, but it's a business of the people, by the people, for the people. That's the business that we are in.
Campaign Aloha. Yeah, it's a dance, this one, because on one aspect, you have to acknowledge the corruption. Otherwise, why would we, you know, need some new leadership? But your point about not identifying the corruption as the root cause of the problem, because it's not. It's just a byproduct of there being a problem, and so it's tuning in on a human level. What do humans need? What are, you know, really basic root of the problem human needs, and how they're not getting met. This is the future. You know, there's no reason for basic needs to not get met, and that's also the cause of disease is not having basic sanitation, running water, you know, these basic things. It's not wearing a mask and staying 6 feet from each other and all the propaganda we've been receiving for 2 years. It's infrastructure, basic, and how people living on the street in unsanitary conditions. So we're coming out of the pandemic. It's still going on, but they've given us the wrong solutions, and they've not fixed the things that could actually fix public health. And so some of these things have to come into your platform of what you want to change and what was unacceptable, like Victorine. You don't attack and make enemies, but at the same time, there's a reason why we don't want Victorino to come back. And so it's just 60
There you are. I stuck around just in case.
My internet went out.
All good. I'm with you. So the last thing you were saying, I don't want to make necessarily like attack, for instance, but we do need to bring, these issues, the awareness to the corruption. We got to give voice to it and speak to it. We got to speak to the disharmony, right? And from that comes harmony, from the awareness of corruption. I can talk to you about it because you're more in tune with this stuff than some of the other people on the team. But the activation sequence on my gene key, is the evolution point is equilibrium is the gift coming from the shadow of corruption in the city of harmony. So it's like coming in, it's like, how do we harmonize these issues? We see disharmony with the water issues that we have, yet we have the housing, too much housing, maybe, right? With our current infrastructure is not able to support the housing because we need to revamp our infrastructure, but also from the standpoint of like, that corruption in, how do we harmonize that? How do we make a new song? The example I think maybe you and I were talking about this before, but coming back to like, if we have these golf courses, next to these resorts, right? Like the resorts need to have catchment tanks, like you got to source your own water. If you're going to put a resort up, you got to figure out how to source your own water. Right? It's like at least supplement a significant amount, because we're only going to be able to give you this amount. So either your resort or your housing development must be much smaller than what it is, or you need to figure out the infrastructure that is going to support the size and the scale that you're trying to implement here. On the same, and then come back to the golf courses, growing food on these golf courses. If they're going to receive water to make their grasses green, you need to be growing fruit trees at the same time that we can harvest, so that we are creating enough food on this island for all of us to live sustainably. With that, just practicing. Let's do it in person.